On this episode of The Live Life, we're talking about one of the most critical parts of an audio system, Dante, and more on The Live Life.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by SDVOE, the platform for networked AV.
This is The Live Life, episode 35, the Dante Takeover. Welcome to The Live Life, where we bring you influential people of the live event community to discuss topics related to the selling, planning, designing, and producing live event productions. I'm your host, Wallace Johnson, where you can find me on Twitter at WallaceCTS. And today we got a special treat, an awesome AV tweep who has made time for us in the crazy, hectic pre-Infocom scheduling. I'm just going to throw the name and let her do the rest. Miss Alicia Henley, how are you this morning?
Hey, Wallace, I'm good, man. I'm happy to finally get to join you on this show. You know, everybody's kind of like in commercial AV in some kind of way, but you're one of the few that I knew that was in live events. So I'm glad to be here and join you today.
Yeah, I'm the oddball that comes to that crazy bunch of people that they got a lot of good ideas, and then I kind of just mix in the mix. Just
hey, I'm with you on that one too. So you're not alone.
Cool. So I don't want to kind of give all the titles, accolades, and things that you're doing. So I'll let you give a little bit of background on yourself. Along with, I want to know how you got into the industry.
How I got into the industry. I started in audio in my dad's church. We had this little sound console that was like in a box back then. And it had like 5 channels on it. And he was an audio guy. So at that time, he started his own church. He was preaching, so he obviously couldn't do it. So he taught me how to run it. And I mean, this was started a church when I was about 12. So I was coming out of 5th grade. And then by the time I was 16, we had a full production. Like we had, mega church projectors, 48 channel consoles. So it moved pretty fast. And that's where I started, in the house of worship. And then as I got older, we moved down to Texas. I started getting into other houses of worships and consulting. And then I found the commercial space of AV, and I was like, oh gosh, okay. And then I started learning other components that go into this, more video, camera work. So it all just came full circle, and I'm excited to be a part of it all. Like multimedia is something that was always a passion. So I'm glad I'm able to do what I love and kind of get out of the stuff I was doing during college, like, dishwashing and flipping burgers and everything else you could think of. So I'm happy.
Indeed. It's funny how our stories align so well. I started in the house of worship with my dad, getting me into it. And so we'll rap about that deeply later on. But you talked about your passion and what you love about the multimedia side. Tell me, what is it about the industry that you love so much?
The fact that we create these experiences, right? Like in the live space, yeah, it's different from a conference room or a huddle space. So in the live space, I've always been that person in the back of the room that you don't see that takes the crowd to a different realm of excitement, whether it's entertainment or even if it is just in a conference room, being able to make things work seamlessly and really create an experience for me is what really grasped me into this industry. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. Like people don't always notice me, but that's a good thing. I don't want you to always notice me. I want things to work for you, and I want you to capitalize on whatever experience it is that you want to have. So being in the live space really always had me focusing on experiences.
Another proud member of the AV Ninja Club, where you just get around, you move, and nobody knows what's happening, but it's working, and they don't know how.
Exactly. Making the magic happen, right?
Yep. So looking back, as you've gotten into the industry, you've gotten to see a broad perspective of it and do a bunch of different things. What advice would you give somebody new to the industry, or looking back just in your own career, what would you change or do differently that, based on what you know now?
Oh man, I would have used the internet a lot sooner. I know a lot of people know me from the internet, but that's how I got in-house where I am now at my current employer. I got online and I found the jobs. Like really, that's what it took for me to get online and find the right people, find the influencers in the community. But also capitalize on groups like Integrate Baltimore. There's so many groups that are creating opportunities for people who might not necessarily have these opportunities presented right in the forefront. Like the school district that I work for, Cy-Fair ISD, we have a program to where the kids from every high school can go and be a part of like the Cy-Fair cinema and get kind of a background in AV, but not every place has that. So I would have loved to have the opportunity to get acquainted with this type of technology at an earlier age. So I just say, get on the internet, do your research, find what's out there, and connect with the right people who can create or help create the right opportunities. And that's how I've gotten this far, by connecting with the right people, learning new technologies, and just kind of staying ahead of the forefront, being educated.
Indeed. So educating yourself in new technologies is something we're going to talk about today with our topic of Dante. And so, as we were talking before, this episode came about because it popped up on my screen. You were teaching a course at Infocom about Dante. And, a lot of my audio guys I talk to have a love-hate relationship as they start to get acquainted to our friend Dante. I've been on projects where I'm producing and it's late in the night, we're at rehearsals and Dante has left the building. So
right, yeah.
We'll talk about that a little bit, but give us a little bit of overview of just, what Dante is, where it came from, how this beast has turned into the love affair of audio people in the industry.
Right. Well, Dante, there's a lot of audio networking protocols, right? Or standard, you can say. There's quite a few of them, but Audinate and Dante have done a great job getting in front of the media, having the right funding to make this a household name. But Dante, the funny thing about Dante is that it was created before I was even out of high school. Like it was created in 2006 and I was still learning analog. I had no idea about any of these digital consoles that were coming out. But I believe Aiden Williams, he's the CTO and he's one of the founders of Audinate. He basically started with a research group over in Australia. And then Motorola at that time had closed down and he grabbed some engineers and researchers from there. And they kind of all came together within this research group and developed Dante. I believe it was part of the National ICT Australia, which basically they focused on audio protocols and audio networking. So they were in there just brainstorming and it became a thing in 2006. And Audinate was kind of a spinoff of this research group. So like I said, it really came about before I had any, acknowledgement that there was that audio was even going to the digital space. So it's been exciting. And the more I learn about it, that's what led me to become certified in Dante. I had to learn it at work. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go through the courses. And then I got to level 2 and I was like, well, I know a 3 is coming out, but what's the next step for me? And then I really got to talking with some of the Audinate people and became certified as a certified speaker as well and trainer.
Fantastic. So you talked about, using Dante in your work environment. Tell us a little bit about that in terms of how you use it and, operate with on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
So I work for a school district at Cy-Fair ISD, as I mentioned earlier, but I'm not your ordinary classroom tech person. Cy-Fair is a pretty big district. We're the 3rd largest in Texas. So this building called the Berry Center was built specifically for the school district. Even though we do have outside clients, they built this massive place to do things for the community. So we have a stadium. Of course, high school football is a big thing. We have an arena, a conference center, and a theater. So Dante really helps us connect all those parts when we have events that take up the entire space. Like we'll have events come in that start in the arena and might break off into the conference center and theater. And we need to be able to send and route signals all over the place. So Dante being incorporated into our workspace really helped, route sources easily.
Now, was that a pre-design installed, or was that something you guys went back and retrofitted? How did that process work in terms of, getting the full campus and various environments that you're, managing, all integrated with Dante?
Right. So when I started, the building was 10 years old now. And when I started, everything was, we had digital systems, like we had digital consoles. We've always been on the Allen and Heath side of things. And when I came in, we hadn't incorporated Dante yet. It's when we went through the upgrades of our arena and, the theater and all that stuff. We went through an upgrade, and that's when we started getting Dante-enabled gear and, distributing it around our venue.
With that transition, what would you say are some of the technical or even financial benefits, not only from, traditional analog, but other network protocols that audio, could be sent over?
Well, the technical benefits of that was that we were able, like I said, we were able to send everything across multiple venues, but we were able to do that with less cabling. So we use all fiber, which is a little, fiber can be expensive, but it is a little bit cheaper opposed to copper running out, long snake XLRs all over the place. So that was definitely a financial benefit in the install side of things. Now, when it came to the technical side, it was easier to route things. We upgraded a lot of our systems, and with the Dante software, you can just go in there and actually route everything one-to-one instead of actually physically having to connect it as well. So there was a lot of benefits on that side. And again, the biggest benefit for running front of house in a facility like I do is being able to send it to multiple venues when we have those larger events. So that was a plus for us.
Cool. So I alluded to it in the first part of the Dante discussion of some of the challenges with my good friend Dante. What challenges have you run into, in your campus environment in dealing with the protocol?
The challenge was, since we have to send so much back and forth, was when it comes to multicasting. That became a little bit of a challenge for us because we were sending too much one back and forth. So that kind of became an issue. We had a few popping and clickings, but it was an easy fix once you go in and take some of that stuff out. Also having so many things Dante enabled, the clocking became an issue at one point. So we had to make sure, the masters, the slave, what was going to be our point of reference there. But outside of that, I think our team has adjusted well to going over the network. And it's been interesting to learn, I should say. It's all troubleshooting, right?
Yeah. Trial and error a little bit.
Right. And that's exactly what we had to do. I mean, we have a full staff of 8 full-timers. So when we have these large events and we throw in these new networking protocols, we're like, okay, I guess this is going to work until It doesn't work. And we're like, so you constantly evolving and seeing what works and what doesn't work.
So, with all of that, you said a lot there. And the one question, I'm curious of is how much IT experience, with the various network protocols or running everything kind of over a network, especially in your environment, how much, has to be had there? I mean, we know AV and IT have, crossed over, converged, whatever you want to call it, but there seems to be a lot of IT that's needed, in knowing how to manage this protocol.
That's the thing. I don't have a background in IT, right? So I don't know a lot of stuff that IT people know, but I think it boils down to knowing basic lingo, basic language, so we can understand each other. If we know the language and the basic gear, then it becomes you don't have to know that much. But with Dante, really all you need to know is about switchers, your IP networks, your Wi-Fi, and I mean your cabling. And you don't have to go into a hardcore IT background to make this work for you. And like I said, our team, we're all AV people. We have one guy who's one of the lead engineers that has a background in IT, but he doesn't have a background in audio. So Dante was still kind of foreign to him. But it's like I said, it's not rocket science. It can be easily figured out, and you don't really need to know that much IT networking. You don't have to go too in depth.
It sounds like a lot of it's managed through software in terms of the routing and a lot of the information that's going back and forth through the system. Tell me a little bit about is there software that Audinate has put out that manages this, or is it third-party tools?
Yeah.
Some background on that.
Dante. So it's Dante Controller is the main software. It's a free software. You can use that on Mac or PC, and that is where you do all your routing and housing for your audio sources. That's the place where you'll do that. There is some other software that is involved. Then you have Dante Via that'll help you connect all your devices as well. You have Dante Domain, which just came out. We don't actually use this at work, but I was at the AVIT Summit in New York right before it launched, and talking to the guys at Audinate, that had me excited, because what Dante Domain Manager will let you do is that you can then assign roles, because right now the controller is an open space.
Okay.
So if one of our people goes in and reroutes something for an event, but it doesn't get turned back around and patched the right way, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I don't have audio, what's going on? And you never know that it was rerouted. With the manager, you can assign roles and kind of assess and delegate how a person can navigate through your software. So that's really, and it'll give you time codes and things like that. So that's an exciting new piece that Dante created. But it's all software driven for the most part. So it's pretty cool.
No, sounds like it. From a performance of the system, like you say, with the reclocking, the master slave element of it, is that all visually managed and visible through the software to kind of get a health report of, you know?
Yep. And it's very clear too. You got a green check or you get a red X, you know? Like
the joy of digital, right?
Exactly. It's all very clear. It doesn't leave you like wondering what's happening. It's either green or red, you know? Right. So it's pretty straightforward.
We talked about the software. Hardware-wise, with various switches, is there a recommended preference of brands that the system they say works best on, or can any network switch or managed switch be tied into it?
I haven't heard Audinate come out and say, "Hey, you need to use this type of brand because this is what works best." It's either a managed switch or an unmanaged switch, and that way you have freedom to go in and do what you want more on a managed switch versus unmanaged. So it really depends on your venue and your situation on what you want to do with it. So really it boils down to the switches.
Okay. Network wise, is it best to put this on its own network environment, or are you mixed in with, kind of the normal traffic of everything else?
It's best to put it on its own space, just like everything else. The less traffic flow, the better. Especially when you have, it's like us at work, we have all of our everything is basically Dante enabled. So when you have so much of that gear on the network, it's best just to have that own dedicated space for it. And you have to be hardwired. You can't use Wi-Fi.
Okay. Good to know. That may be some of the issues guys trying in some of the fails that I've seen. There's been some wireless networks involved.
It happens. And we went down that route too. Like trial and error once again.
Yeah.
You got to find what works.
Yeah, indeed. So you talked about the training and certification path you went through with Dante. Tell us about what options that you found were out there and how they benefited you.
The option to go and get certified in Dante was pretty like a no-brainer for me. I used it at work, and I needed to figure out how I was going to handle this if my lead engineers weren't there to save us. So that was a selling point for me. And also before Dante came out, if you make it to the certification of level 2, you actually have to walk through it, like the routing. You have to go and route things the way they specifically tell you to route it. So it's a free certification. You just go on the website, take the test. You can do it as many times as you need to. And it's very helpful. It's something to add to the resume. And as the industry continues to lean towards, putting things on the network, I think certifications like this can't hurt.
Got it. Now it makes total sense. And it's good to hear that they really took a hands-on approach in outlining their best practice process and that certification, so that engineers in the field, when they take it, they all are speaking the same language of that core process.
Exactly.
That they put out there.
Exactly. Like we had just done the upgrades at work, and I went to the E4 tour last year in Dallas, and they did a Dante class, and I was like, oh, that's cool. At least I know that I can get this type of education now. There's a place where I can go and ask people questions, or there's other certified people that can lead me in the right direction on getting familiar with this software and this audio, you know.
Yeah. Speaking of certified people, do they have like a designation or list that's out there of people who are certified?
Yeah, it's on the website as well. And I mean, a lot of people who have the certification also put it on their LinkedIn.
Yep.
So I've actually gone into LinkedIn and type in Dante certification, and you can see a list of people who have put that out there on the internet. You can see them as well.
No, that's awesome because, the live event side using so many freelancers that, if you're going to be designing a system or using a system with, heavy Dante integration, then it's a nice quick way to find out, what resources are out there that are actually certified and not still in the guessing phase of what they're doing.
Yep, it's definitely a great resource, and it's all on the Audinet's website too.
Awesome. So, from your involvement of what you've seen thus far, what the conversations have been with Audinate, with Dante, where is it headed? I've heard something about video possibly, but kind of what's the next phase that you think could be about?
I think video is sooner or later is going to come into the picture because there are some protocols to where you can do video over IP, but they're separate, right? There's very few that are together where you can do audio and video. So of course, I think that's the next step. But outside of kind of like the AV space, I think Dante is going to push a little bit more, like say in the music industry, that side of the engineering, because with Dante Via and all this other layers of software that they have, it would be very helpful in that space when you connect your USBs and, other things for MIDI. I think that'll be a push, but Dante isn't going anywhere. It's going to continue to grow bigger and bigger. I think they're going to continue to make bigger partnerships, and Dante-enabled products are just going to keep growing. Like there's over thousands of Dante-enabled products, and I think we're going to continue to see that in the future, more products becoming Dante-enabled so everything can talk to each other.
Yeah, I totally agree. In fact, I've seen more and more manufacturers and in my world space of talking with multiple companies, they're making their purchases decisions based on is Dante integrated into this piece of equipment. So that way it's already easy into their workflow that they're designing with. So definitely see it staying around for the long term, which is exciting to see, something that's, new, working, standardized to make the industry better. So very cool. So with that, I want to jump into the rapid fire of the Final Five on Live. It's 5 quick questions to get the audience a little bit more information about you, your experience and background on a couple of different things outside of just typical AV. So
I never thought I'd be in the hot seat. I'm usually putting people in the hot seat.
Reverse. So, all right. So here we go. Who outside the industry has inspired you the most?
Ryan Leslie.
Okay. Interesting. What is your favorite place on the road you've eaten?
Superior Seafood in Louisiana.
Okay. What is your favorite city traveled?
Favorite city travel? New York.
Okay. Favorite movie of all time?
Favorite movie of all time?
All time, yep. You just got to pick one.
Ninja Turtles, number 2.
Wow.
Return of the Ooze.
Oh, man. Okay. And if you did not get into the AV industry, what in the world would you be doing? I
would be a chef, or I would be like a social media manager. One of the two.
Okay. Very cool. Well, that's it. That was easy.
Yeah. Okay.
Final Five on Live. That's it. So you are all over the place socially. I'm going to bring you back with your counterpart of the Social Slice podcast, which Alicia, she's got multiple podcasts going. I see you got a thing with digital signage. She's got the Social Slice show. She's writing articles. So just give the audience a brief idea of, where we're going to find you on the web and on social.
Definitely on Twitter. Twitter's my favorite place. If you tweet me, it's almost like sending me a text message. So just at me, at The Smooth Factor. Of course, you can go to my website, thesmoothfactor.com. Instagram, at The Smooth Factor. Like Wallace said, I'm podcasting, so check out a couple of those as well. Social Slice at the Social Slice Show with Noble Crawford, and also with Digital Signage Expo. I now do the official podcast for Digital Signage Expo. It's called Digital Signage Stories. So you can find that on iTunes as well.
Fantastic. Alicia, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, knowledge, and experience on the Live Life. And to the listening audience, thank you for supporting the show with topics and questions I get during the week. So if you enjoy the show, please subscribe on the AVNation.tv/something like the Live Life, or just find us on iTunes, leave a star rating, leave comments, and again, show your love. If you're going to be at InfoComm, AVNation is going to have a tweet up on June 6th, someplace. It's on the website. You can find it. It's going to be pretty fun. A lot of awesome industry people make or break through to get to this event, to have a good time and see and network with each other. And tell us about your training at InfoComm. Dante and All Nate. Yes.
Yes. The training at InfoComm is Wednesday at 1 at the Westgate. So I hear there's easy access for this. You just head out the back, right across the street to the Westgate. So I'm in Pavilion 10.
Awesome.
Yes.
And then you'll be speaking on Center Stage Friday.
Yeah, Center Stage Friday. We're closing out Friday.
Closing out Friday with the crazy guy.
Yeah, me and my guy Will
the
Curse.
hype man.
Yeah, the hype man, exactly. So it's gonna be a lot of energy, and a lot of content. Like it's gonna be coming at you. Like honestly, I think we're just gonna like open up a fire hose or something because it's gonna have to be so fast. But we have a lot to offer, so it's gonna be a party for sure.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again. And folks, until the next show, stay living the dream. And by the dream, I mean the Live Life.